Hey everyone, I'm Phoebe Wild and welcome to Cardboard Vault Reviews. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Blueprints. Now this is a 2 to 4 player game published by Z-Man Games. In the game, players are architects trying to earn the most points for their buildings and emerge victorious with the most awards. Let's take a look at how it plays. Blueprints takes place over 3 rounds, and each round you'll be constructing a building and earning awards. At the end of the 3rd round, whoever has the most points in these award cards is the winner. At the start of each round, players will be given a blueprint card, which will be kept secret behind their screen. There will be a pool of 7 dice that they can choose from, and on their turn they will select one of these dice and place it onto their blueprint, and they will then roll a new dice into the pool from this bag, so that the next player still has the same number to choose from. When they're placing onto their dice, when they're placing onto their blueprint, they're allowed to place on any of the numbered squares or on top of a dice that they've already placed. If they're placing on top of a dice they've already placed, the new dice has to have a face value greater than or equal to the dice below it. So for example, if I had placed this 5 here, and wanted to place on top of that dice, the new dice would have to be a 5 or a 6. You do not have to follow your blueprint exactly, but you will earn 6 bonus points towards the value of your building, towards these awards, if you choose to do so. Once everyone has selected 6 dice one at a time, everyone will reveal their buildings and scoring and awards will take place. And this is where things get interesting. There are 7 different awards that can be won. Let's look at the awards for the most valuable buildings first. So these are awards for the 1st, 2nd and 3rd most valuable buildings, worth 3, 2 and 1 points. The value of your building is based on the 6 bonus points if you complete your blueprint, and the value of each of the 6 dice that you placed. You can see that there are 4 different types of dice, and each represents a different building material. So you have recycled material, wood, stone, and glass, and each of them scores slightly differently when you place them. So for example, dice is worth its face value when you place it. So this would contribute 5 points to the value of my building. Stone scores more points the higher it is in your building. On the 1st level of your building, it's only worth 2 points, but on the 4th level of your building, it is worth 8 points. Wood scores based on how many other dice it is touching, and 2 points for each other face that is next to it. And recycled materials score more the more you have of them. So one recycled dice by itself is only worth 2 points, but if you have 6 of them, then they're worth 30 points. So to calculate the most valuable building awards, players one by one will calculate their scores from each of their 6 dice and add the 6 bonus points if they completed their blueprint exactly. If there are any ties in these awards or any of the other awards, they are settled based on these tiebreakers that are drawn at the start of each round. The first tiebreaker that was drawn is recycled material. So whoever out of the tied players has the most recycled dice in their building will take the award. If they're tied on that, then it's whoever has the most wooden dice in their building. And the same is done for the 2nd most valuable building and the 3rd most valuable building. These other 4 awards work slightly differently. This one is given out for having 4 dice with the same face value in the building. This is for having dice numbered 1 through 6. This is for having 5 of the same building material, and this is for having a building that's at least 5 stories high, or 5 dice high. These 4 are only given out if players meet the criteria, and a maximum of 1 can be given out, just as with the valuable building awards. Once all of these have been awarded, the round resets. So players will be dealt a brand new blueprint card. These tiebreakers will be drawn again, and all dice go back into the bag, and a new pool of 7 dice for 4 players will be drawn. Whoever had the least valuable building last round will go first in this round. After the end of the 3rd round, players add up the number of points they have in cards, and whoever has the most is the winner. I really liked the idea of blueprints when I bought it, of making buildings from dice, and then the fact that each of those dice scored slightly differently, and that you have to think about what numbers you're taking and what colours of dice you're taking, and kind of making a perfect strategy or a perfect combination of everything to win those awards. And I thought it could lead to a very interesting game, but for me it kind of fell flat. And one of those reasons for that is that it's a very luck dependent game. So it all depends on the roll of the dice and the colours and numbers that happen to come out of that, which means that it's very difficult to plan long term. The dice that you want in the pool might or might not be there by the time it comes back around to your turn, so it's difficult to plan ahead and look at what's available and say, okay, that means I can go for 4 of the same number because there's lots of those numbers available. Maybe everyone else will take that number or that colour or whatever you're going for, and then you'll have to change your strategy, or you won't be able to do what you thought you were able to do. And the fact that your strategy just depends on what number people before you happen to roll is not a great part of the game. The other thing I didn't really like was the focus on remembering what other people are doing. But by having the hidden information, so you can't tell how people are creating their buildings, you have to try and remember what everyone's doing, or not bother trying to remember, which just leads to everyone doing their own thing and not quite knowing whether they're getting an award or not getting an award at the end of the round. So I didn't feel that the mystery added anything to the game. I feel like if it was played without hidden information, then it would be a much more interesting experience, because you can see what other players are trying to do and make more informed decisions based on that. I don't think strategy should necessarily be about being able to remember exactly what everyone's doing, but more about looking at what everyone's doing and analysing your best options based on that. And the third thing I didn't really like as much was the focus that was placed on the most valuable building awards. There are so many rules on how to get the most valuable building, from the different material types and the 6-point bonus for completing your blueprint, that I found that players prioritize first the most valuable building award, and all the others were secondary or neglected, and no one really went for them. So everyone ended up going for the same goals, and obviously not everyone can get them, so there were huge point gaps because everyone was neglecting the other ones, and all the points were left up to whoever had the most valuable award. And I think that the rules emphasis on the most valuable award meant that players kind of thought that that was the most important thing to go for, despite it being worth just as many points at the end of the game as all the other awards they could have gone for. And I think that if the game encouraged going after the other awards a bit more, then it would be a more interesting, more balanced kind of game. I did like the 2-player game a lot better than the 3 and 4-player game, because there's a bit more head-to-head competition, and it's easier to remember what they're going for, which is good, and to try and block them or figure out your strategies around them. There's an extra rule in the 2-player game that not only do you place a dice on your building, but you discard one of the dice that's in the pool and then roll 2 new ones in. So you can kind of discard dice that you think your opponent might need and disadvantage them that way, while also building up your own points. And that was a very interesting rule for me. I don't know if something like that would be possible in a 3 to 4-player game, but I feel like it could add just a bit more interaction and make it more interactive game and more interesting game. So it's an easy to learn game, it's a quick to play game, but for me it didn't have the level of strategy that I enjoy. In a 2-player game it was a much better experience, but still not, still very luck dependent, and probably not a game that I'll be playing a lot. So thanks for watching Cardboard Vault Reviews, and stay tuned for more videos.